crowns. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want to ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
What is going on, guys, and welcome to Lions Nation Night Live. We got a good one for you. Herm is going to be on here in a little bit. We're talking free agency, and guess what? More free agency on this show, but right now, before Herm gets on, we're here with Dan from Lions Talk Live with his new haircut. What's going on, Dan?
Mike, just glad to be back. Basketball season's over, so I'm ready to jump back in and talk a little bit of Lions with you and everybody in the fan base.
Yep, and we are definitely talking Lions Talk Live here right now. We're going to get into the signings of yesterday and the ones that just occur right before I went live. And I got to tell you what, personally, I made a freaking video, and I said in the video that if John Kaminsky signs, I'll make a video. And as soon as I hit publish, John Kaminsky signed. I'm not making a video. Like, stupid luck. Terrible luck for me. But John Kaminsky did sign, so we'll get into that. Hope everybody's having a really good day. And it's free agency. Free agency. So let's just talk about the ones that just occurred. The Detroit Lions signed cornerback Emmanuel Moseley, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, 26-year-old, one-year deal, $6 million. He was actually a pretty good starter before he got injured. What is your thoughts on the signing for Emmanuel Moseley? And let me know in the comment section right now your grade of that bad boy. I'm going to put B's. Put in the comment section. Go ahead, man.
You know, my view on him is he's going to be another body that adds depth. Somebody who's used to being a starter, somebody who's used to being a physical DB, which the Lions want. If you look at him, he's prototypical Jerry Jacobs, Jeff Okudah, somebody who's physical at the line, can jam, get after people, and then make up if somebody beats the press. Obviously, the knock on him has been a little bit of an injury history, but he's on a prove-it deal, just like DJ Shark last year. If this guy really pans out, he's probably going to be a Lion for a while.
We talked about how the cornerback room was booty cheeks last year and the year before. We get Cameron Sutton yesterday. We get Emmanuel Moseley today. They're starting to change this room. And I do like the signing here. The reason why I like it's that one-year prove-it deal. You're getting another player in the mix. I was looking at Byron Murphy as one of those guys, but Emmanuel Moseley is right there as well. He's a young guy, and I think if he stays healthy, he could be like a DJ Chark or a Khalif Raymond, where he can actually contribute to the Lions' defense that so needs the help there, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the middle of last season, we could see the Lions' defense was definitely starting to improve and grow. And by the end of the year, they were actually not that bad. The cornerback room has been the big problem. Okudah started the year off strong, but then I'm sure, as we're all aware, the last 3 or 4 games just kind of went downhill. He even had to sit out the last game in Lambeau Field. Jacobs, for an undrafted free agent, I think we've gotten quite a bit out of him. But is he going to be your real number 2? Is he going to be a number 3? And that's just kind of the question with all these guys. Yesterday, when we saw that Walker was asked to restructure his deal to free up $5 million, I kind of had the impression that something was coming. And I guess today we found out what that is. The other question I think we're all going to have to talk about is, with these 2 corners being signed, what's that mean for Jeff Okudah? Because with that 5th-year option, are they going to pay him, or are they going to move on from him?
Yeah, it does, and it means something for the draft as well. Right now, the subscribers say B, C, B, B, plus, B, plus, Mr. Kimber, B minus, B, A minus, A minus. So they're in the range about the same there. I think we're all a little bit on the same page, and it really just depends. If he stays healthy, it could go to an A. It definitely could, because he's a talented player. He for sure is. So I like the signing. What do you think about Cam Sutton? I loved it. I said, yes, veteran, played well last year. He's a great leader. It's going to help the DB room in a big way. Lions were cheeks, like I said earlier, in the secondary. Now you're getting a veteran in here. He's going to be right now number one. What do you think about Cam Sutton, DB, Detroit?
I think the one thing he does incredibly well is he has versatility. He doesn't mind playing outside or inside. If you go back and watch what a lot of teams did, especially early in the year, and the Lions did clean it up some, is, short crosses over the middle. We just got roasted time and time again by it. That's something Sutton actually guards very, very well. He is able to force people off those routes on the inside release across the middle, where Lions traditionally gotten killed the last few years. So he's going to help negate that. Then the question just becomes who plays on the outside if he takes the inside slot. The only knock I do have on him, it's not a huge one, is if you watch him on film when he's tackling, he leaves his feet a lot and he goes up high for hits. So if he doesn't make contact early when he's going to tackle, he can get roasted a little bit. But coverage-wise, he can play zone, he can play man. He's really great at both of them. So he'll be instantly our best cover cornerback without question.
Yeah, he is going to be the best cover corner for the Detroit Lions right now. And we needed that bad. I mean, it was so bad. It was the Achilles heel to the Lions defense. Someone asked, will Mosley be ready for training camp? From what I read, yes, he will be ready for training camp. All expectations is that. And talk about injury, Tracy Walker is near 100%. So it looks like he'll be ready for training camp. The Lions DB room is much improved, and we got the man, the myth, the Mark. What is going on, Mark? Going from Orange 4, man.
How's it going, guys? Sorry about the sunglasses. I got a little bit of a wonky eye.
Excuses, but go ahead.
Got the Terminator thing going on right now. So, yeah.
I'm the Markinator.
What's going on, man? What's going on, guys? Just got
Mark.
Yes.
Mark.
What's going on, buddy? How's it going,
Mosley to Detroit. Detroit, thoughts on the Lions signing Mosley to a 1-year, $6 million prove-it deal. Really good for the 49ers until he got injured. Thoughts on this bad boy? And, I mean, when you look at it, Cam Sutton as well.
Yeah.
They're changing over this DB room.
100%, man. We're trying to bolster that secondary. I just kind of got the news when I walked in the door. I checked to see what the Lions were doing. I was out, and I saw that we signed Mosley, and he had a pretty good overall grade last year for the 49ers. Stepped up, got hurt though. He's another small guy, 5'11", 190 pounds. Went to the same school as what's it called there? Cameron Sutton, Tennessee. So looks like they're going after some ballers. They're going after guys that that come from good organizations like, the Pittsburgh Steelers and then the San Francisco 49ers. And this is going to do nothing but just help the situation out that we need, that needs help big time. And I really like the Cameron Sutton pickup too. So, this is a guy that really didn't get a shot until about 2021. He was in and out of the lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then finally got that shot, maybe 2021, started starting more. And then they moved him to the outside. He's a versatile cornerback, good man guy, and he can follow the number ones too as well. He doesn't play like his size says he is. He's another guy, 5'11", 188 pounds, another smaller guy, but he'll take guys on, and he follows the number one wide receivers, which I like a lot. And he's going to push some guys in that locker room, and so is Emmanuel Mosley. So doing work, and I like what Brad Holmes is doing.
Doing work. We're live on Facebook and Twitter. Lions Nation Unite. If you're in there and you want to comment, it should come through. Go ahead and comment in the comment section. It should work. It should. The word should. We know technology. We're not a match made in heaven. We're a match made in hell. So that's just the way it is there. Lions sign. And like I just said this before, folks, in the comment section. I made a video. I said, Kaminsky, if he gets signed, I'll let you know. As soon as I hit publish, he got signed. John Kaminsky, Mark Oram from Orm's Forum. Back 2-year deal. The Lions didn't win a game when he was out of the lineup. Integral part to the defensive line. Can't stress it enough. Thoughts of him coming back to the D?
Excellent. This is another guy. is a versatile guy, can play inside, outside. He's got that high motor. And you got to remember, man, last year when this guy was available, there was eight or nine teams, I believe, that put in a waiver to get this guy last year. We picked him up, and he was nothing but a bonus for us last year. And, he got hurt, went down. And like you said, we kind of like lost a little bit of that fire when he went down. And then, he fits the culture. He's one of those tough guys. He's a Dan Campbell type guy. Even after that Green Bay game last year, man, he's waving to the Green Bay Packer fans. He's rubbing it in. We love that type of guy here. And he's just gonna bring it now. They gave him a little bit of extra money that I think he deserved. And he's a versatile guy, man. And they love versatility here. So he's going to help out that defensive line. He's going to mentor some young guys if they come in. And he's kind of young himself too still. So it's a good move by Detroit bringing in, some of that home cooking.
Right now, we are needing you to smash that like button. I'm trying to get Herman right now. So, Dan, go ahead and talk about the Kaminsky while I try to get the man on right now.
So Kaminsky, I think we all agree, he's somebody that is a bit of a game changer for the Lions. He's got a lot of versatility, and you're seeing that with multiple defenders they've either signed or re-signed, guys that can play different spots. I don't even think we've talked about Will Harris yet, and he got re-signed. And while Will can play all over the place, Kaminsky is another one of those guys that's high motor, high energy, just like Houston, just like, Hutchinson, somebody that just doesn't stop when they're out on the field. And if the Lions seem to be trying to build an identity, it seems to be in free agency, they're aware that people like Jalen Ramsey may not want to come to Detroit. It's not their ideal destination. That guy's got options, and that's why ultimately we weren't able to trade for him. But what the Lions seem to be doing with Brad Holmes and Campbell and everybody else is saying, hey, if you buy into what we do, if you're going to be a part of our systems and help support each other, then we're going to take care of you and your families. You come here, you help rebuild Detroit. Even if we could upgrade slightly at some spots, we're going to take people like you time and time again. And I think that's something the NFL players will start noticing this free agency and other free agencies, maybe last year or such, and starts building a trend for Lions players. If I have an option between going to Detroit or, some other team, more and more players may start saying, hey, let's go to Detroit because we know we're not going to be cast off. We're going to be well maintained, well taken care of. And this is going to be an ideal spot for my career.
Facebook user, it came up. The comments came up on Facebook. There is a God. Huge shout out to whoever that is, but it came up. Herman Moore is going to be on here in a second. So he's trying to get on right now. He's going to talk a little bit, talk about these signings. Now, Alex Calzone, all right, the Italian blonde hair stallion, Thor incarnate, also re-signed with the Detroit Lions, 3-year deal, $18.75 million. Mark Oram also looks like he's a piano player who's blind. Thoughts on the signing of Alex Anzalone?
I'm not going to be on as hard as some Lions fans are on Alex Anzalone. If you go look at his career early on with the Saints, it was one of those careers you're like, oh man, this guy's going to be out of the league pretty quick. He comes to Detroit, he gets better year one, and then he comes here, and then year two they sign him again, and he's better. He's even better. He gets career highs in tackles. He gets career highs in quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, tackles for loss. He has a really good year, and especially a really good second half. I know he's not the best linebacker out there. There was other options, but this is a guy that comes in and he fits the system. He fits what they're looking for. He's a Dan Campbell guy. Familiarity, it's really big in the NFL. They know him from the Saints. Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell work with him over there. So, this is a guy that wears the green helmet. He knows the system. He's a mentor. He's a fiery guy. He's not the best linebacker, but he looks like he's a guy that's kind of, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? He's kind of finding his niche in Detroit, He's getting better as a football player. He's not the best, like I said, but I think he's a solid guy, and he's going to, he had a lot of help in developing Malcolm Rodriguez last year as well. Took some guys under his wing, and that's what you love about him, man. He's, he is a good linebacker. He's not a game-changing linebacker, but you know, you love a guy like that in the room because the coaching staff loves him, the players love him, and he's just great in the room. So I'm glad they brought him back. You know, they didn't break the bank, $6.5 million or whatever it was they paid him. So you know, I'm happy Anzalone's back.
The legend is back live here. Herman Moore, how's it going?
What's up, Herm?
Hey, it's going well. How's everybody doing?
Oh, man.
Good, man. How about you?
That's awesome.
Lion size the players, Herm.
You know what? I think they definitely went after positions that they needed to continue to solidify. You know, bringing back some depth at the offensive line, bringing back, not bringing back, but going into free agency and pulling down a cornerback is a big deal for them. It still opens the gate to, you know, what other moves are they looking to make? Because what it tells me, if you look at just bringing back, a linebacker, bringing back, going to get a corner, there's a very specific plan that the Lions have in place. And there's movement when you talk about even restructuring contracts of players, then you're freeing up space because you're following a blueprint and you're needing things to fall in place. And they're going through that in a very methodical way. I think there's others that are going to get restructured, in my opinion. I think there's going to be some guys they may have to release and bring back. Maybe it's a way to just not necessarily let them test free agency, but they're needing to get approved before. I've seen this done where you let people go, but you hold on to them and you have first rights to go back and bring them back, because it lets you get an idea of whether you're going to be under or overpaying a player. And it works out both for the player, it works out for the team, so you get the right value based on an open market. So I'm really excited to see what the Lions are doing right now to continue to keep this team, first and foremost, intact as best as possible, and then bring in those additional pieces without disruption.
Now, you've seen that the cornerback room obviously was a net negative for the Lions last year, and they went hard here. Cameron Sutton, and now you get Emmanuel Mosley. Do you think they understand that we got to make sure that this is not like it was last year, and we got to solidify the back end of the D?
You have to. The receivers in the NFL are good. You can have guys that are not necessarily superstar players, but if you don't provide coverage and you don't have a way to just say, you know what, if we have to man up, we can man up. If we can just get away with playing some type of a man free or some type of a zone defensive coverage, we can do that so we can apply more pressure. If they can come up with these different scenarios, I think the secondary didn't give them necessarily the flexibility they needed at certain key times in certain games. But by improving the secondary, that's going to give them the opportunity to play different schemes, and they can play based on game situations versus saying, you know what, we're being preventative or we're protecting maybe a weaker area of our defensive unit.
Folks, we got 48 likes. Let's get to 84 likes. That number is really important today. Smash that like button. Let's get to A4. Everybody throw that in the comment section as well. 84. Dano, got something to ask?
Herman, let me ask you this. Based on what you see with especially the youth of last year's team, you're bringing in two guys that I would say they're not young, but they're not old, especially with two of them off the bat at the cornerback position. What's that tell you that potentially they might be looking to do the rest of free agency or maybe even the draft?
Well, I think they're looking for a gap. I won't call it a year or a gap filler in the event that they don't want to make a big move in the secondary position in the draft or do something like that. They're looking to make sure they fill that gap. They're taking care of what they think is the most pressing part of their defense, which is the secondary. And if they can make some slight improvements through free agency, which they've done, and they've done it in a big way, I think that now takes the pressure off of where they can spend money and spend picks. I think it frees them up in terms of also how they can restructure contracts to go after bigger, more players that can have a longer term effect and position with the Lions, whether it be continue to improve the linebacking core, or they're looking for some defensive linemen or another rush in. So this has been big for them, and it signals to me that they may not be making a strong move. If some have thought perhaps they may make a move in the first round at the cornerback position, but now I think they've bought themselves the ability to pick later in rounds to continue to add the depth to that position.
Mark?
Hey, Herm, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Good, man. I just got a question about the offense. There's, we had a great offense last year. Is there anybody in particular you think, what position, really not a player, that they're going to target, you think, this year, in either the draft or free agency? I'm not really looking for a name. I'm just a position. Do you think they will be targeting somebody or some position?
I think they will. And, when you look at their two positions that they have, one that's interesting is whether or not they decide to add more to the offensive side, or if they're going to go strictly defensively. I've talked about, and I've said this over and over, and again, it's not even because Jared Goff had a great year. I continue to look at, do you start to bring in a quarterback that doesn't have the pressure that, in 3 to 4 years, just continues to build the safety net that every team needs. If you look at one of the biggest positions that's hardest to fill and becomes the most vulnerable, is the quarterbacking position. And while you can go to a backup, we don't have that veteran backup that's got a lot of time spent, or we know can come in and do game management that a lot of teams will get. And right now we don't have that young waiting one. So that's one. Another one that came up that was interesting that I heard recently was, do they make a move at running back? I think that depends on what they end up doing in the backfield with the later draft pick. I don't think you draft high, obviously, with that pick to get a running back. There's no one I think that will command a number 6 pick. But when you look down the draft, down the way, do you take a chance there, or do you leverage that pick for someone that's, if you can pick up a decent free agent that may pop out there, or someone else that may get released later, or you get into a trade situation, so that they have some really good value in terms of strategic positions in the draft to make a difference. Picking that one player or picking someone by name, I think they're just taking talent with those picks. But I do believe there's got to be a focus on future, and there's got to be a focus on how do we continue to, wherever we can break as a team and be vulnerable. I pick up that position and I try and solidify it now.
Talk about the running back position right now. We got one in the free agent market, Swag Daddy, Jamal Williams, the cartoon character himself. Should the Lions re-sign this guy? He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. This guy is just a great one. Should the Lions get this guy back in the building? And if we don't, like you're saying, is running back a priority in the draft?
The Lions have the position in that they can get away with one running back and a good backup, or they can go with two technical starting running backs with a really good backup. They're in a position that I wouldn't want to be one of the running backs that's got to be who stays, who goes, and who's going to give me the best value, so on and so forth, because the Lions have too much leverage right now, given that it's not necessarily crowded, but it's one that could take a little bit of a bump, and then you pick that up somewhere else. And then given what's happened with the receiving core, they've continued to take the pressure off of, in my opinion, the running game, and the running game off of the receiving game. So they have really good balance there. You got a solid offensive line. You got a proven quarterback. I don't think that position is going to be as big of a hit as many may think if one leaves. But when you talk about a guy like Jamal Williams, if you bring him back, you're looking at really what's the historical value to not overpay. I'm telling you, that's what they're weighing right now. Yes, he had a lot of touchdowns, but those touchdowns weren't manifested by him alone, taking it start to finish all the way down. It was a combination of receivers, a combination of Swift. There's a combination of tight ends. There's a combination of players. And then ultimately you're giving that person the opportunity to kind of put the nail in there because you have such a good offensive line. And I think there's, at least half of his touchdowns you're going to get into the end zone by putting Swift in or anyone else running behind that line. So they're weighing that piece to say, how do we not overpay, but how do we keep someone who is instrumental to our offensive unit? He's also become a fan favorite. He's also become a leader of motivation and enthusiasm and keeping the spirits high. So he has all kind of value beyond just what he's doing from the physical side for this team.
Dan?
I was just going to ask this question, but since it kind of came up, maybe it's a little late. But in your opinion, is his value, Jamal Williams, more in the leadership component than it is his production? Because at least in my opinion, Herm, looking at the Lions offense, there didn't seem to be a real change depending on which one of the four major running backs were out there. That's why I'm almost left to wonder if I'm a GM and I get maybe he's trying to get a better offer than really I can afford to give. Does the draft become a better option for us to get somebody on a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal if you go in the first round a little bit cheaper? I guess as a general manager, what would you be thinking right now? Where's his value?
I'm thinking really along the lines of what you just mentioned, because I'm not going to discount his production nor what he's done. I think that would be a disservice to him, and I think that's a disrespect to Jamal Williams. He's earned it. He's earned his way to have a spectacular season, statistically and also just production wise. But then you look at how much of that is been manifested by the team putting him in that position versus creating that position on your own. We talk about running backs that have those long runs that take it all the way down. They go out, they get a break, they come back, and they let them finish it. I don't think we can point to too many opportunities where you could say, okay, that was a big bulk of what led to that. And I do believe they're going to put and take something away from his value because of the offensive line and because of all the other contributing factors. So he has to come in with a reasonable piece to say, listen, this is a great place, I think, for Jamal Williams. If I were him, my opinion is I look at a reasonable contract. I negotiate with the team to stay because I think I have a longer term opportunity if I'm looking for earning and looking for stability. But I'm also looking at all the other extra values that I get with respect. I'm a leader. I'm given the ability to have a voice in this locker room. You're not going to be guaranteed that anywhere else, and you may be stuck with a 1-year, one and done deal if you don't produce.
One last part of that, if I may, real quick.
Yep.
2 days. We'll just go assume 2 days of free agency are gone. Jamal doesn't have a contract from us or anybody else. How much do you, in your opinion, is he sweating right now?
He's probably sweating a little bit, I would imagine, because if you're leading the NFL in touchdowns and no one's blowing up your phone, knowing that there's an opportunity out there for you, then that's saying that they're not looking at last year's film. I'll say that, okay? They're going to be looking at multiple years. They're going to be looking at, teams when they make investments, they're looking at historical numbers. They're looking at historical play. And then they're able to piece that back together through other conversations that they're reaching out and talking to those, whether it be former teammates or offensive coordinators, position coaches, GMs. They're talking to people 100% to get any and everything about you because it is an investment. That's called the due diligence phase. They're going through it. And if they think that there's anything that is going to prevent them from being in a position that's going to leave money on the table or leave opportunity they could have spent elsewhere, teams are going to be a little bit slower to move. So right now, I would be a little concerned, but he may be fielding a lot of offers we're not aware of. That's not made public. So I don't want to jump the gun too much on that, but I will say I think he's a valuable asset to bring back for the right price. But I don't think the Lions are going to overreach and pay just because that's a likable player or they feel that they can't replace that production.
Mark?
It's almost kind of a piggyback question. We've had Brad Holmes here for going on 3 years now. He's been very transparent. I think Dan Campbell's one of the most transparent head coaches I've ever listened, talked to before. Brad the same way. Are you happy on the way that they are doing free agency? They haven't really made too many big splashes. Cam Sutton was probably, I think, is their biggest splash so far in 3 years. Are you happy with the way it's going? Do you think it's the right way? Because it seems like it is when, we won the last 8 out of 10 games last year. I think that was a big thing right there. And are you just happy with the way Brad Holmes and company are kind of taking this path?
I am. And I'll tell you where I've taken a greater appreciation for looking at how teams move. Being that I'm now, former player, I'm now in business, I understand the process. The NFL, the Detroit Lions in football, there's entertainment and there's business. They're looking at it and they're evaluating it from a business standpoint. They have a model. They have a forecast. They put some things in place. It's not something that happens just because free agency just happens. And that was an unknown. That's what we call it's unpredictable. It's a trend. It's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen. So they have some things in place. If certain things happen in free agency that cause them to move based on the business model of it, that keeps the whole enterprise working, they move on it. If it isn't, while it may be popular in some of our opinions that sit on the side, they're not going to make that move because they have too much business intelligence. They have too much in stake in terms of historical composition and things they put in place to all of a sudden abandon that to make an impulsive purchase and make an impulsive move. That's what's happened in the past when you've seen the Lions have, it looks like they're right there. And I don't think it was taken through that methodical process that says, okay, how do I move from one end of this and finish it out and just put my blinders on because we have a plan. And I think Brad Holmes, I think Coach Dan Campbell and in the whole organization, Rod Wood and those guys, they have a plan. And at this point, they're going to see it through, and that's going to either sink or swim for them.
I know you're a busy man, Herm, but before you leave, why should people subscribe to LNU?
They're going to subscribe to LNU because you're going to get panels like this that come on, and we don't talk silliness. We come on and we talk really just the nuts and bolts of really what we're talking about here at LNU. And we're bringing it without being biased, and we're bringing it just based on us doing our research and really putting some thought behind it. And plus, we all look good and we're likable people. So that's why you
yeah. And we got some good stuff coming up. Going to be a little bit of debates going on here. It's going to be some good time.
Debate's going to be good.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on, Herm. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Do your thing.
Always a pleasure. Thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Have a
Herm.
good one, Herm.
All right, folks. If you got some questions, we may have some answers. Go ahead in the comment section right now. Do hashtag Lions, and you'll get your questions answered by Dan the Man, by Mark, the piano player, or by myself. You got to do hashtag Lions, though. Got to do it. Because if you don't, I can't see it. I'm old. There's 426 in the building.
You ain't
I'm
old, man. You ain't
Put
old.
that in there. Talk free agency. I know implications of free agency in the draft. I've seen a couple of those questions in there. So if you're one of those guys that did that, let me know and we will get it. Here's a great question. Exactly what we're talking about. Truth Tella, is corner still in need in round one? Mark.
I don't think it's as big a need. I don't like it. I don't like a cornerback at 6, but possibly 18 still because, Mosley was only a 1-year deal. So you never know. I'd rather they go linebacker, but, it's still an option.
I personally don't think it's that big of a need now. I think they're being flexible in the draft, and I think that's really good for the Detroit Lions. Are we taking Carter if he falls to us, Dan?
Yes. I wouldn't even hesitate. Get up to that board, get Dan Campbell to throw the ticket taker guy up to the mic and get that pick in.
Jordy, and we're going to miss your questions. Just repost it. I'm going to miss it. I'm not ignoring it. I already missed like 10 that just popped up. Jordy Mansion says, hashtag Lions, what is the biggest hole right now? DT, backup, OT, and guard. I'm going to go with defensive tackle right now. I think that is the biggest need for the Detroit Lions. Still have not solidified it, but guess what, folks? We do got the NFL draft, and I think that's where they're going to go in there. We went and signed we signed 2 DBs. We got John Kaminsky back. I think when you look at pick 6, you're looking at Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, one of those guys. One of them's a DT, and if you don't go that way, they can go Kalijah Kancey at 18. So that's a possibility. Yeah. Mark, what do you think is the biggest need for this football team?
I kind of agree with you, Mike. I think defensive tackle is the biggest hole, man. We need some pluggers, man. I really like Mozzie Smith in the second round, so from Michigan. We need some guys that can stop the run, get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback every now and then. Defensive tackle is a huge problem, I think, right now.
Yes, we did sign Will Harris back to a 1-year deal. Will Harris is back to the Detroit Lions. In the smiles go on here from the panel here.
But why? Can you answer that, Mike? I know he's versatile. I know he's your favorite player.
Mark, I'm trying to do a PG show here, okay? You already know this, man. We got a $5 super from Paul the Goat Ginder. He says, hashtag Lions, do you guys think we're going to get a quarterback in free agency? Yes, I do think we're going to get a quarterback in free agency. I like that they're waiting, though, a little bit because I don't want to pay too pricey for a backup. You're seeing what did Mike White go for $10 million? I'm not wanting to do that. I cut that down to like 3 to 4. You know what I'm saying? I want a little bit down, so wait a little bit. There's still a lot of people out there, but I do 100% believe we are going a quarterback in free agency. Maybe like a Marcus Mariota possibility, someone I've talked about, or a Cooper Rush, but he may be a little more expensive. Yeah. Seth Hernandez, #Lions. What do you think about the Lions drafting DJ Turner from Michigan? Mark, you're a Michigan man.
Yeah, man. You know, I do like him. He's a smaller guy. He's the fastest kid at the combine. You know, he's a punt returner, a kick returner, I think, in the NFL, probably to start his career. But you know, man, yeah, absolutely, man. He'd be helping the secondary. He's a later round guy though, 3rd, 4th round. But I do like DJ Turner. I'm not really sure I would really target him though.
Jonathan Anton, #, would you trade back with Washington if you get this year's first and next year's first round and this year's second round pick? So we get I think they're pick 16, and we get next year's first round pick in the second round. I do. Want to know why? Give me another first round pick next year, and you don't know how it's going to play out, right? It's like, you know what? If there's a player I like, Mark May, you know, we like May, man, you go ahead and do it. Yeah, I would do that. Dan, what do you think about that?
To me, it would depend on who's there at number 6. If Carter's there, no. Anybody else, yes. Because I'm going to say this draft, and especially with what we've done in free agency, we don't have a ton of visible holes. Maybe some depth. Maybe we can get a little bit better at this position, that position. But if Carter's there, I'm not doing the trade. Anybody else, you know, phone's open.
I agree. I think Will Anderson and Carter would be the exception. Those guys are absolute stud and a bona fide G. We know that for sure. Philip C. dropping a $4.99 super sticker. Appreciate you with the dog. You are awesome. Absolutely appreciate it. Minshew Mania. A lot of people in the comment section. Would you get Gardner, Minshew, Mark Orem, the piano player?
Yes, man. I would absolutely love Minshew coming in here and back up Jared Goff. He's got starting behind him. You know, he seems like a Dan Campbell guy. He's a character, and he's not a bad quarterback. A good backup quarterback for sure.
Patty Grimes, Dan to the man. Would you trade a 6th round pick for Matt Corral, who is potentially on the market, it seems like?
Yeah, why not? 6th round, 7th round. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have a big fight with it one way or another. Of course, keep this in mind. Houston was a 6th round pick a year ago.
That's it, man.
Frank Ribble, #Lions. Is Brian Branch still a possibility in the first Will Harris role? I honestly don't think so. I like him, but even before what was going on, I was like, I just don't know that's the route they're going to go. Tracy Walker right now, he looks to be good to go for training camp. And you got Kirby Joseph. I think that's just, maybe it's a value type of pick, but probably looking more defensive line at 6 and could be the opposite at 18. Like if you went edge at 6, it could be DT at 18 or a B. John Robinson. I got a question for you, Dan. Jamal Williams signs with another team, and you're sitting at 18, and Bijan is there. Would you do it?
Yes, I would. I think he's probably one of the best difference-making running backs I've seen in the last, we'll say, 2 to 3 years. I mean, there's not guys in the draft that are vastly different than him, but if you're splitting hairs, he does seem to be the total package. And the best thing I liked about it is when you talk to players who played against him, and you're talking Will Anderson Jr., his statement I thought was great. He was the one guy he hated playing against because everyone on that team knew it took 2 or 3 guys to bring him down. And Williams is going to hold out for big money. You got somebody who's probably an upgrade over Williams, at least from a playing standpoint, and you're going to be able to get him a whole lot cheaper.
Interesting question here from Jordan Moore, because I was talking about this with a fellow friend behind the scenes. If the Lions do not re-sign DJ Chark, is wide receiver at play at 18?
Just for me?
Yeah.
You know, well, it'll probably be like a Quentin Johnson, right? Or Jordan Addison. I'm guessing. I guess it could be in play. I think it'd be a scary situation with, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Quentin Johnson, possibly. I think it could be an option. I guess it all depends who's really there.
I personally don't want to go the receiver
I
route.
don't want to do that.
I'm just telling you my personal preference, but I'm not Brad Holmes.
Right.
I don't think so. I mean, I think everything's pretty much in play, but let's be real here. It's not a need. Even as Shark leaves, we still got good depth at wide receiver. You traded up for Jamison Williams. You got to use him, right? So, I mean, I want Shark back for sure. Maybe they can get a late round wide receiver in a 6th round or something like that to a big body guy. #Lions, can JMO do it all if Chark is gone and return kicks? I don't want him returning kicks. That's my personal preference. Can he do it all? I think that Jamison Williams is going to have obviously a much better year this year. He's actually going to have training camp, off-season workouts. He's going to be working out with Jared Goff at the home. He didn't have none of that last year. There's no connection between him and Jared Goff. It was just throw him in the game. So that's what happened. I think the connection is going to be much improved. Jamison Williams will be looking a lot better. Dan, what do you think about JMO 2023?
I think he's going to be probably a breakout candidate for the year. I mean, you can't really call him a comeback player of the year just because really his freshman year, rookie year was kind of really short-lived. But, getting in there in the offseason, like you already pointed out, getting routes down, getting a better understanding of route trees and timing with Goff, I think you're going to see him explode. You saw glimpses of it here and there last year. I think you're going to see a ton of it come next year.
We do got some news here about Aaron Rodgers. He's currently the quarterback of the Packers. He is GM of the Jets, and he's the owner of the Bears. So now, Karen Rodgers, he's getting it all done, by the way. Can we show some love to Karen by putting Karen in the comment section? This stuff with him, my golly. And I don't even want to spend much time on it. Just put the word Karen in there. The media is going berserk over him. Just put Karen. Let's see. Ranty Q, #Lions. Do you think now that we can get more offensive players in the draft, wide receiver, running back, and offensive guard, still in the 2nd round or lower? Yeah, I think guard is for sure on the table because we're going to lose Evan Brown from what I'm hearing. No doubt about it. You got to replace him because he was integral to the Lions' offensive line, guys. I mean, you had injury to Big V. He plays all positions, and I expect them to look at that. Wide receiver, potentially later in the draft if we lose Chark. Running back, it depends on if we lose Jamal Williams. If we don't get Jamal Williams back, I think it's going to be a higher priority than a lot of people expect. I think round 1. Possibility round 1, round 2. What do you think about that, Dan the man?
To me, assuming that Williams doesn't come back, and we'll even say Shark doesn't come back, then you definitely got to replace those guys. Yes, we've got some depth at all those positions, but do you have difference makers at those positions? And then the other part is Evan Brown probably does not get enough credit for what he did last year. Yeah. He's a center who made the transition to right guard. And did anybody even really notice him? To me, that's a telling statement of offensive lineman. Nobody notices you out there, good or bad. You're doing your job. And he did it in droves. I think somebody's going to offer him more than we're going to be able or want to give him because he can play 3 of the key positions on the O-line. He can move them around. I mean, that's going to be hard to replace.
Jordy Manchin, @Lions. With Alex Anzalone in the signing, do we maybe draft a high upside, maybe low floor linebacker to replace him long-term? Mark Orem.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's a 3-year deal here. He's probably got an early out. I don't really know the details of the contract. I think this team needs help at the linebacker position. I would love for him to go a middle linebacker early or late. It doesn't really matter to me. I have faith in Brad Holmes finding somebody. So absolutely, man. They're going to have to look for some linebackers in this draft.
We got to get a linebacker in the draft. Yeah. Got to get a linebacker in the draft. Got to get a linebacker in draft. That's what I'm saying here. I'd love to get like Jack Campbell, Trent Simpson, all the names. We got to get a young guy, in my opinion. If Jamal doesn't come back from Alex here, do you guys go after Miles Sanders? I don't believe so. Miles Sanders is more of like a Swift type of player. Jamal Williams is more of the power player, 2 different type of running styles. If we lose Jamal, we're probably going to, Bijan would be on the table. I think Zach Charbonnet from UCLA would be on the table. More the power side instead of the finesse. That's my opinion. Any thoughts on there, Dan or Marky?
Trying to remember the kid's name from Alabama. I want to say it's Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Gibbs.
He'd be somebody I target and go after hard, because I do think the Lions are going to have some difficulty getting Robinson at 18. I just think he showed that well at the combine. I could see him going, heck, maybe Philadelphia at 10.
Yeah, I definitely like some power backs in this draft. The Charbonnet, I really like Roschon Johnson. Out of Texas. He's got that low mileage on him because it was all Bijan Robinson, and this kid can do a lot of things. Roschon Johnson, and he'd be a guy I'd look at as a power back to replace J-Dub.
Hungry Panda says, you just paid Anzalone to be a backup, or you drafting a linebacker start over Arrigo. I'm drafting BPA, and in the second round, there's going to be a ton of linebackers, and that's a need. And you draft him, you let him fight it out. Alex Anzalone is probably going to be the starter. Let him fight it out. Yeah. That's my opinion on here. It just needs to get better. It does. It's the same thing with the cornerback position, right? We got a ton of corners right now. Let them battle it out, see who's the guys. But I'm not going to just, you know what? We like Malcolm, and so that means he's just going to be the starter. No, man, I want you to battle it. I want to have the best 11 on the field, and we need better at linebacker. We just do. It's been a position that we need to get more talent on.
Hey, Mike, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Will Anderson falls to 6. You draft him. Do you have him, Houston at the outsides, and Anzalone or Rodrigo in the middle?
Yeah, if Will Anderson's there, I'm drafting Will Anderson. That's what I'm doing. I love Will Anderson. Imagine him, Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Joshua Pascal, Charles Harris would probably be there as well. That's called ridiculous.
That'd be ridiculous, bro. That'd be sickening.
It has been a long time since we had an elite defensive line. Back in 2014, we had one, and we were smoking fools. If we have a really good offensive line, let's finish this defensive line right now, and that's how you win in the trenches. You got it right there. You want your linebackers to have an easier job? You have those. You have Anderson and Hutchinson coming at these quarterbacks. Karen, he's gone. I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. Running Fields, he's going to have to keep running with that offensive line. Kirk Cousins, Mr. Statue himself, I'm sorry, bro. We got to knock you down a couple times. That's what I would like to see. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, or if Jalen Carter or Will Anderson's there, pull the trigger. One of them should be.
If there's if there's 4 quarterbacks going in this top 5, it could very well happen.
Yep.
And I think it has very strong possibility of happening.
We need to pray that somebody trades with the Arizona Cardinals, say like the Raiders or the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. If they do that, one of the two is going to fall there. And say Arizona stays. I hear they like Tyree Wilson. If that's the case, we get it. So you get that trenches done, and we punch people in the mouth. A young defensive line. Young, too. And you're going to be good for many years. That's Dan Campbell. That's biting kneecaps off. That's putting your head in the guillotine. That's ripping the flesh off the bone. I want to win. I don't just want to win the NFC North, folks. I want to be a powerhouse in the NFC. You look at what the 49ers did. Their defensive line scary. They got a great defense over there. The Philadelphia Eagles, they lost some talent, but they were really good on the defensive line. You got to do it. Offense and defensive line, finish this bad boy and rip flesh off. Become Hannibal Lecter. Okay? That's what we need to do. Paul Ginder, #Lions, what do you guys think if we traded up from 18 to 15 to get Bijan? Fine with it. I'm fine with trading up. If you feel there's a player there like a Bijan Robinson, and we all agree he's a top 5 prospect in this draft. It's just he's a running back. That's why he's going to probably fall a little bit. Absolutely. Imagine Bijan Robinson with this offensive line. The wide receivers. Play action Jameson Williams. They're going to have to bite the run game every time. If you've watched Bijan Robinson, his juke, it's ridiculous, Mark. It's ridiculous.
It would be absolutely ridiculous. I am a little bit on the fence with trading up for a running back just because the running back situation, they're so devalued nowadays in today's NFL. But a guy like Bijan, I think he's a special talent. If you can only go up a couple spots, it's not that bad. Give up a little bit of capital. He's a guy I really, really like in this draft. I think he could maybe be there at 18. But if you go up, I'm okay with it, man. I do like him a lot. Like you said, Mike, this offense would just be even more scarier than it is right now. So let's go, man. I'm all for it.
Steve-O is correct. We went 8-2 after we traded Hawk. We got our normal tight ends back. Media, stop it. We're not getting a tight end at 18 or 6. It's good. What do you think about the idea of trading up Dan the Man from 18, 14 to acquire a talent like a Bijan Robinson?
I'll put it this way. When I was a kid, the Raiders were like the team to beat. And then you're talking the 70s, early 80s. And just think about if you do re-sign someone like Shark, you've got him and Jameson going deep on both sidelines. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown going over the middle, and you've got to stop Robinson coming out of the backfield. You're going to have a lot of play action, deep shots, a lot of deep posts. And, man, if those backers come up at all to stop the run, that play action is just going to roast them. If they don't come up, then I would expect with our offensive line, whoever's in the backfield is just going to eat them up. And Robinson, I think, is somebody that would just chew them up left and right.
Ranting Q says, #lines, I hope Brad picks a great defensive tackle, big and strong with Bugs and Ali McNeil, but his goal is to stop the run. Now imagine this. Before everybody in the chat, think of this. At pick 6, Will Anderson's there. They select Will Anderson. At pick 18, Kalijah Cansey is there. They pick Kalijah Cansey. Mic drop.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Got some.
You want? Hey, if you like hurting quarterbacks, that would be ridiculous. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous. Would you guys like to see something like that? Would you like to see if Will fell there, and then Cansey fell there?
Oh, there's your rush from the inside, man, with Cansey. There's your rush from the inside. He's a smaller DT, but he can get to the quarterback. I personally don't know if he's going to be there at 18. He ran that fast combine. It's all he really did at the combine, though, was run. But he produces, man. He can get to the quarterback from the inside. So he's not the greatest in run support. He can do it. But he's a smaller DT. But, man, if you're looking for a guy that can rush, that's a DT to get right there.
Lions Plant says we should sign Yannick Ngakoue. Do you guys want to sign? I don't even know what he's asking for, in all honesty.
He's overrated.
Overrated? What do you think about Yannick?
Depends on what he's asking, how much, because I'm not overpaying for him.
He does one thing and one thing only, man. He can just rush. He doesn't play the run well. He can get to the quarterback, though. He can get to the quarterback. He's got some skill there.
Alex, you're trying to make me go into a smile coma.
Wow.
Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. That would be absolutely nuts.
I think I might have to
trade up. Don't even let him get to 18.
I wish I could just be in control of all the other teams and just I'm going to select a kicker at 7. I'm going to select it. Just all the talent falls to me. Got him. Jessica says here, since Hutch was the most double block player in the league, would other teams do if they drafted Jalen Carter? What would other teams do if we drafted Jalen Carter? Well, they're going to have a problem on their hands. That's what they're going to do because you can't double everybody. You just can't. And remember, you got James Houston too. That's the thing. You want to double Hutch? Okay, now you got to deal with Houston on the edge. You got to deal with if it's Charles Harris or whoever on the edge. Someone's going to be free. That's what happened in 2014 when we had the elite defensive line. When we were it was waves of pain. You just can't block. You can't do that. Can't double team. You can bring in an extra tight end, but that just makes it easier for the DBs, Mark.
Oh yeah, man. It's just you gotta have a lot of good tight end. Defensive line depth, and it helps out the secondary huge. And I think we're not gonna shy away from getting some D-line depth. So bringing back Kaminsky. It seems like maybe Romeo and Charles are going to be back. One of those guys could be a camp cut. Who knows what's going on, for or a restructure or just to get some cap space. But you need that depth to help out the secondary. And if we can get some guys that can get to the quarterback from both angles, inside, outside, we're going to be a problem in the North.
Stephen Likens, would you guys draft Tyree Wilson if both Carter and Anderson are gone? I would look to do that or trade down. I think that's what I'm doing there. I still want that defensive line depth, but yeah, I think he'd be my number 3 or trade down. I would do it. Dan, what do you think about that?
I'd probably be more in the camp of trading back at that point, just because I probably want to address a couple other issues or spots on the team. You know, we've got a couple spots that if we do lose people in free agency, we're going to have to pick up, whether it's offensive line, whether it's, defensive tackle, whatever. I like the guy. I just don't think he's that guy.
What about you, Mark?
I do like him. He's a gigantic man at 6'6", 275 pounds. He's a little bit slow off the ball though. He's not as explosive, but he's just a big guy. He plays the run really well. He can get to the quarterback. Not sure if I take him at 6. He's one of my top 10 guys, but at 6, I'd rather trade back, like you said, Mike.
Yeah, that'd be my first option there because it's Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and I think there's a little bit of a drop off after that. And if you have the ability to trade back, maybe another team really wants some prospect. It could be a Will Levis, something like that, because that means that somebody didn't trade with Arizona. And Arizona went and they took Will Anderson, and maybe Seattle took Jalen Carter. They switched it up either way. And then one of those guys fell there for sure. I think that would be, because honestly, corner at 6, I think it's kind of off the table, folks. I know a lot of people I see your Lions plan want Christian Gonzalez at 6. After us getting Sutton, I think that's pretty much off the table. That's a lot of money to CBs when you got Okudah, Sutton, and then you draft one this high. So I think it's pretty much off the table, in all honesty. That's just my personal opinion. Obviously, it could change with Brad Holmes, but that's what I'm kind of feeling right here. Patty Grimes, #Lions. How much better would the line secondary be with Hutch, Houston, Carter, Pascal? A lot better. Plus, we just got Sutton, 100%. It's going to, when you have pass rush, it makes the LBs and the DBs much improved. It makes them look a lot better because the quarterback's going to have to throw it early, throw off their back foot. They're a little bit erratic. Maybe they got to do shorter passes. It just makes the job easier. It really does. And that's what happened to 2014, Dan.
Yeah, 2014, you got to be able to, stop the quick passes because our defensive line was so great. You saw a lot of teams go to 3-step drops just to get rid of the ball quicker. Unfortunately, our secondary got exposed. I think we all agree that the defensive line we've got now is setting up to be, pretty good. They can get after some people as long as they can shut down the run in the middle. We should be okay. The other part of that is that secondary has got to be able to stop people if they go to quicker timing routes. You got to take that away. If you can do that, you got offensive coordinators in a real jam.
So here's the John Kaminsky deal. Lions signing John Kaminsky. 2-year, $8.5 million contract, an upside of $9.4 million, including $4 million guaranteed, with $2.4 million signing bonus according to league source. And Kaminsky is ecstatic to be back in Detroit. So he's got some. I love it when they do. You have to work and gain some more money that way. Like if you meet this goal. So it looks like there's a little bit in there of that. So that's good. I'm really happy. I think the Kaminsky re-sign is extremely underrated. I think, if you look what he did with the Lions, when he was not in the lineup, we didn't win a game. We were 0-5. You got to have your depth pieces. Kaminsky, I love that he's back right now. I think that's the most underrated signing right now, and I'm really happy that I'm ecstatic. And if you get another defensive lineman in the draft, our D-line's complete. I think it's the best defensive line in the NFC North, no doubt, and it's ranking up there in the NFL. So I'm super excited about that. Mark,
yes,
Dan, question for you really quick. Who do you think is the next signing or re-signing for the Lions? Mark, go ahead.
The next signing or re-signing, man, I don't think we're going to get back Jamal. I have a feeling we're losing him. I have a feeling we're losing Jamal. So I think the next signing will be I'm going to say we're going to get some type of linebacker. I can't tell you what player, But I have a feeling we're going to get another linebacker. You know, we're going to make some room. I have a feeling the next 24 hours, maybe a Leighton Vander-Esch, maybe someone like that. He's set to be a free agent for the Cowboys. I know he's an injury guy. Did stay healthy relatively the last couple of years. So maybe a linebacker, maybe a Leighton Vander-Esch. I don't know. But I have a feeling we're losing Williams. I don't know if we're going to sign any of our other remaining free agents. I think we've pretty much locked everybody up from what I can remember. So, yeah, linebacker.
So we got Chark and Jamal pretty much it. Those are the two big guys left, right?
Yeah.
Dan the man, what do you think the Lions do next?
I think they got to go after, if you're really targeted on winning and making a deep playoff push this year, in the next 2 weeks, we've got to get a veteran backup quarterback. Otherwise, I think they're telling what they might do in the draft. If they don't go out and spend money on one in those next 2 weeks, they're probably targeting a quarterback in the first 3 rounds.
Ooh, damn.
I'm going to go with the Lions. The next signing would be a re-signing DJ Chark. I'll go with DJ Chark. I don't know. I know it's a little bit more, but I feel like with Brett, he needs to be back. I don't know, man. That's just what I've got. I got no information, guys. I have no idea. That's a total guess. But I appreciate everybody hanging out for this hour. Huge showing out here. We got 570 people in here. I appreciate everybody doing that. That is a record for Lions Nation Unite on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and I think even on IG. Not 100% sure on there, but I think so. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. See you when the next signing happens.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters. They're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve it now. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.